This is something that we hear about so often. Is there ever any excuse to stop a grandchild from seeing its grandparent?
Well, actually, to set it all up, I think we have to understand what the situation is in this country. I mean, my husband and I, we've got 10 grandchildren between us, so if I wasn't allowed to see any of my grandchildren, honestly, I would be brokenhearted. But I have worked a lot with the Grandparents' Federation.
Yeah.
And I know that out there will be people who will be virtually crying at this very subject.
Yeah.
There will be people who have not been allowed to see their grandchildren maybe for years and years and years. There'll be people who have a bedroom with presents that they've bought every birthday, every Christmas, never been allowed to deliver them, and they keep them, hoping that the grandchild or grandchildren, once they get to 18, will be able to do that. Now, of course, there'll also be people watching to say, well, I don't want my grandparents or the grandparents to see my children. There might be abuse in the family of some sort. There might be alcoholism.
Yes.
And so, therefore, there are some. But we're talking about average people, average grandchildren. And personally, and I think Stacey might agree with me here, that I think the friendship and the relationship that develops between grandparents and children is fantastic, because it really works for both parties. I think the grandchildren gain from their grandparents, and of course vice versa. I mean, it's the most important thing. So I think it's tragic when I hear stories. And later on, if we have time, I'll tell you one particular story that sums it up for me. But I think you agree with
Yeah,
part
we
of
were
that, don't
talking
you?
earlier, and I think that the influence of my grandparents has been invaluable to my life, and it's such a privilege to have them around. Like you said, excluded from the scenarios when anybody shouldn't be in a child's life because they're doing something that just isn't appropriate. But under normal circumstances, yes, I do think grandparents' influence is invaluable. But what would you like to see? How would you see grandparents' rights getting to the stage that you would need them to?
Well, there are no rights at the moment. And that's the tragic thing.
No
In this
automatic
country,
rights to their grandchildren.
no automatic rights. And I know of many people, you have to apply to the court twice before you're actually even considered a case. And it's very costly to involve solicitors and so on. And they have been trying for years now to loosen those laws a bit, to try and make it easier for grandparents to apply to the court. So that is the tragic thing. And there's also, I think you've got the details about the difference between the access, say, of a father and grandparents.
Fathers have more rights than grandparents,
Yes.
and even fathers are constantly fighting for more rights to access to their children.
Well, I was
if
going
their
to say,
ex-partners
do you
decided...
think that if, let's say, grandparents' rights were brought to the same as fathers' rights, do you think it would be any different? Because I know lots of fathers who have a terrible time just trying to get access to their children,
But
and
they do have an
the
automatic
rights.
right to apply.
But
grandparents don't.
So if grandparents did, do you think that would actually help? Because there's a lot of people still in the same situation who have the rights. Do you know what I mean?
It's just a different thing. It's just a different situation. And if you talk to the Grandparents Association, they've been pleading for years and going to Downing Street and walking to Downing Street to try and get the law changed. But I think you've got some extra details, a story that happened, some you know.
Well, I think what I was going to ask you as well about this, Gabrielle. I mean, clearly, all of us, I mean, most of us sitting in the room here, many of you at home will, if it's not happened necessarily to you personally, will have known of friends or family who are in a situation where parents are no longer together. And whereas the family themselves may have broken up, the thoughts of how the grandparents might be involved is not necessarily something that's the forefront of any kind of split. Is this something that you have experienced in your family or that you know of?
I do know somebody who actually just stopped their child from seeing, you know, their parents and the grandparents. But, you know, it's one of those things that it just depends on the situation because, like Laura was saying, normal circumstances, I think that people should be more mature and think, OK, the relationship might be damaged, but as long as the one with the grandparent and the grandchild can still be maintained. But then it just, again, it's on the situation, different situation. Myself, I couldn't be the bigger person. If something was extreme that I disliked, I would possibly, you know, if that person, you know, the grandparent wasn't nice to me, for example, I would actually probably say, you're not good enough. You know, if you're not nice to me, I'm not going to allow you to spend time with my child. Why do I think that you treat my child differently? So I would be the horrible person saying, no, you can't see my child. But so there are people bigger than me who would be like, they would kind of make that decision that it's not about them, it's about the relationship.
That's interesting. Because for me, that would feel like you're putting your grievances first rather than the relationship that a child might have with their grandparent, regardless as to whether you think they're ignorant and horrible or anything else.
Yeah.
We are all human, though.
It's a big subject.
It is a big subject.
You will get
Yes.
flooded with messages today.
It is. It is.